All right, hey there. I'm Scott King. That is Chris Kraus and Sam Abadir. Hey guys, how you doing?
Super. How are you?
Good.
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to talk about AI answering email.
Oh, thank God.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the whole Chat GPT thing changed the way people are looking at how software or how AI can answer a question, right? But it's more
Mhm.
that's more conversational between like me and a machine. But what it did is I think it changed everyone's view of what's possible. So previously we'd covered how ChatGPT elevated our expectations, and by our I mean everybody, right? So this
Yeah.
thing is it's cool, but this functionality has been out there. People just didn't really see it. So the ChatGPT phenomenon has really helped elevate the expectation that we have. And now people are contacting us about email, like, "Hey, I've got all these incoming emails from customers or from partners. I can't get to them fast enough. They
Yep.
come in faster than I can respond to this.
Yeah.
Can AI help me answer these emails?"
Yeah.
Uh,
Scott,
it,
yeah, you're right. I've talked to several customers like we don't get a couple emails. We get 500, 1,000, 3,000 emails a day. Like it is something we need computers to scale to help us solve the problem, right? Because it's not like, oh, I got 3 emails yesterday. They're literally saying it's 500 to 1,000 and more a day. It's huge.
yeah,
Oh, oh,
it's a lot, and it's all across the board, right? And
Mhm.
it's nothing more than someone reading the email, figuring out where the answer would be, going to a system, looking up the answer, typing an email, and then replying, right?
Yeah.
But you
Well,
can't do
then
that 3,000 times.
I
yeah.
think you just identified the problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like looking up the answer because, like, we know ChatGPT knows what's on the internet, but you said looking up the answer. That means, well, in my enterprise, in my ERP, in my customers, CRM, in my proprietary systems, it's that looking up the answer is the problem, right? That's why it's humans are doing it.
And it's
Right.
so
And then
dissatisfying. It really is because the way that people have been scaling has been form answers. You could sell it as just it's kind of related to your question's kind of related to this. I'm going to give you this standard prefab answer, which really just disheartens the person that just spent a lot of money with you.
yeah, because they probably already read the answer on your FAQ doc. Like if you have a help page, hey, where is my, or how soon can I, right? You're always like waiting to receive something, but that's like the next level of information. If I order something, where's my whatever it is, right? If you get a tracking number, like I can look that up in another system. But
Mm-hmm.
how would I converse via email or maybe even omni-channel? Like WhatsApp is popular, right? I guess I've never
Yep.
WhatsApped anybody for a customer service issue, but I guess it's possible.
I
So
found that somebody did that to me in Europe. I went to Europe last summer and sent an email, and the reply came in WhatsApp, and that was the first time I actually used WhatsApp. It was on my phone, and it had one of those little badges on there. And I opened it up. I'm like, wow, look at that! They're responding to me in WhatsApp.
yeah, so I think with what this can do. So Sam, like I mean, we're talking about these customer service issues,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the contact center, right? If you have a bunch of people trying to serve customers coming in through the internet, what's something that they should look at, like take a next step? Because obviously this can be done. Like how would they do that?
I think a lot of people struggle with that first step, Scott. And that first step is because when you look at the tools, I mean, you mentioned ChatGTP um, earlier, but that's all trained off, Wikipedia and other sources like that. It's not specific to my organization. So you need to find something that has that type of flexibility, that type of capability. You have to think about your end user, and you have to be able to um, make it simple enough that but robust enough that it can use your own history, not the history of the internet or the history of Wikipedia, but your own internal knowledge, your own knowledge base, be personal, and then also be extensible. So I would imagine that 80% of the emails coming into most companies are going to ask questions that are easily solved. And then it's really only the 20% that have to do that. Start that interaction in a nice personal way that doesn't really upset somebody, so that when it finally gets to the new person that is going to actually respond to your email, that they can actually do something and help and see that the previous interactions have been helpful. So I tend to think in this model, we have a lot of customer service agents, but also if you look at, I think some of the worst people at this are the interns that answer emails for your Congress people, right? They're absolutely terrible at this. You ask them a question, 3 months later, you get an email back and it's about a topic you didn't even ask about. And bless their hearts, they're trying to do something, but they don't have the knowledge to do it. The knowledge exists. If we can harness that knowledge through AI, like you were talking, reply back in a nice, actionable way, that's a win.
Yeah. So you said next person, right? So that's interesting because like there's high turnover in those organizations, and that is probably like the least trained employee, right? You got like, and then when the person that knows it all, when they leave, like it's just havoc, right? Like
the institutional knowledge is gone.
Yeah.
The tribal knowledge. And I think the worst experience I've had is, I knew some email addresses at a company, and I emailed a question and it probably went to the wrong email address, right? So I asked an accounts receivable question to someone accounts payable. Well, they just closed the ticket, right? Because they didn't actually have the ability to change it to a different part of the organization. So the way a lot of these emails are is a company may have 20 emails and they're specific to a department, specific to a role. So if you don't send it to the right person, it's not like internally they know how to transfer it and send it to someone else. They just close it as done, right? Yeah. Wrong department.
Yeah, and I think that's evident when the companies email you, right? Because sometimes you'll have you get an email from someone that you buy services from, and I can't, I think I get these from like T-Mobile or something, and it says like, hey, do not reply. Like this email box is not even monitored. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you're going to email me, and if I reply, you can't even answer me? Like, that is ridiculous.
You must take action now. Well, I got a question.
Here's your offer, right? I think it is T-Mobile. I think if you want to do this, and you're watching or listening, go to your inbox and just type in "do not reply" in your search inbox field, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see all these emails that you get sent that people don't even want to hear from you.
But wait, Scott, we can solve this.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
So if it's possible, Chris, like how does it work? What do we do?
Yeah. So this is not the $6 million man. This is actually technology that exists. So AI, artificial intelligence, is literally a computer thinking and acting like a person. And it's not magic. It's math. It's hardcore math algorithms. And we do certain things. We have a machine learning module which knows how to classify a request. So it like reads a paragraph or a couple paragraphs and says, oh, this is a question about an order status. This is a question about a delivery status. This is a dispute. So with machine learning, under the big picture of AI, we actually have the concept of classification. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing we would do, and this has been around a very long time, sentiment analysis. So even in 10 years ago, when you called a company and you were getting aggravated on the phone telephony systems were converting that to speech to text and then looking at sentiment. Are they neutral? Is this positive or negative? Right? It's just the three things. So when we get an email, we want to do the same thing, because if we see that it's negative, we need to bump the priority. So if that means respond faster, we do need to escalate to a person, we can do that. And that actually does help solve part of this problem. And then the neat thing is, and this is a little bit newer, is in the computer world, we call it an entity identification, which is a really fancy word for what are they asking for? Are they asking for
that's
an
two
order
words
number?
though.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Entities is the one word. Entities, and can we identify them? So it's like, is there a date in here we need to look up? Is there an order number inside of here we need to look up? Is there something about a purchase order or an invoice or something like that? Or do we reverse back the email address? So the idea is when they ask the questions like, when will my shipment for PO or invoice 57 show up? Or order number 2456 show up? That's where we're looking for the data. And then the cool thing is we can actually take action on that. Like we could actually write an automation to look up the order number and reply back with an answer. So there's the whole concept of let's classify it. Let's figure out the sentiment. Are they happy? If it's something like a dispute, that's going to go to a human workflow. If it's something that we can take an action with automation, like order statuses, is this in stock? What's my shipping? Blah, blah, blah. Those things, we can actually identify information in there to answer the question. And I think the place it's going to go is going to get more interesting. So there's a little dabbling that we see in the consumer realm, but there's a lot of computer vision out there. So how cool would it be if you emailed the company for your sprinkler system and say, I need the manual for my sprinkler control box. And instead of turning it upside down and finding the model number, if you just take a picture of it and email it, and then computer vision says, oh, this is model A45, and they send you the manual, or they send you instructions on how to change the time because daylight saving time is coming, right? Can we actually get very actionable and answer the question? And in the today world, those technologies, they're not perfect, but they're there and they're getting much better, and we can use them today.
I think part of that problem, Chris, is that some of those technologies are there, but they're being piecemealed together. And that piecemeal provides glimpses of a good experience, but overall it's not a good experience, right? And being able to coordinate and orchestrate all this into one process is the last piece that a lot of companies haven't taken, right? They haven't used their internal knowledge. They haven't used the cool vision, the cool technologies like computer vision to simplify the experience and to reduce the number of back and forths that have to go on. So you can, which all those things, when you don't put it together, prolong the experience versus making it so that your customer can get back to doing what it is that they were hoping to do.
Yeah, like a lot of technologies you have to orchestrate. ChatGPT would actually be really good to give you an FAQ from your enterprise, but then you do need something that from sentiment, and then something that does entity identification, some computer vision, and then some type of orchestrated workflow and automation across the back of it. But so there is a concept of we are bringing together multiple technologies, and there's different people who are good at it. But when we bring them together, we can solve this problem.
Yeah, I mean that's a problem indicative to how companies are set up, right? So they budget and they schedule jobs in like departmental silos, right? So I think this is the rise of the chief digital officer that kind of looks at digital processes across a company, across all the different silos. Because if you're inside the silo, you don't see the problem. Like, hey, we want to be able for people to send us pictures of their sprinkler system, control box, and then just automatically reply back to, them with the manual or the question, right? But, in the workflow process, that could be a much larger issue, right? Like, hey, why do I need a manual, right? Well, maybe I did a home edition, or I had an extreme failure. I need a maintenance call or whatever the other situation is, right? Like that person doesn't see it, but the digital officer that sees the customer journey, I think, would identify something. So I think those type of people are going to be really looking into this chat and AI functionality, because they're looking at the journey and the process, which you guys were talking about, versus just kind of hey, kind of solve some small issue, right?
Yeah.
So
you snuck something in there, which I think that if you looked at the broader context, you can really see what that problem is. And Scott, what you had said was, something came in and there's a broader issue and there's another department that's involved. And that's that piece that you snuck in, was there's another department involved. A lot of people have been trying to solve this with tools like RPA. RPA is okay for tasks, and those tasks generally live in one system. But when you try to cross systems and cross departments, those tools really aren't set up for that. So now the attempted automation to improve the experience is impossible, or even worse, has failed. And the end user either way is now delayed, or somebody thinks that they've satisfied them, but they really haven't. And it's really become quite awful. So being able to orchestrate across departments, across systems seamlessly is really a huge benefit for the customer, but will also unveil those hidden things that you were just talking about.
Yeah. So I think to ever use a slang from the U.S., don't lose the forest for the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the chief digital officer is responsible for the entire forest, and all the trees are your different departments. So how does it work together? So I think,
and how do you take the information that's on a single leaf and give it to somebody who's in the warehouse, right? If you're sitting in accounts payable, so
yeah. So I think this is something automation can help solve, and I think people will realize that there's two paths. And some people may have a bad taste, like you mentioned. They've tried this with task-based automation, it doesn't work. But it's completely legit to say, if you can solve 80% of the questions through a computer replying back through conversation, and then 20% actually get escalated to a person, and you rank them by sentiment, you've actually have a big business win. So
you do. That's why you took that do not reply in there, because they can't today reply to all of those emails at all. They just can't do it. But if you can solve 80%, and now I can reply just to the 20%.
Yeah, that sounds good. So Chris, as we wrap up, I think people will wonder, how do I train the answers, right? So if I can answer 80%, like how do I, I'm sold on the Chat GPT functionality, except we talked about that was trained on Wikipedia. I needed to be trained on my business and how I answer. Why don't you give us a summary on how that would work, and then we'll close this session.
Okay. So there's two things we can do. You can actually train ChatGPT on your company's FAQs, on your company's data. So it can reply back and not give an answer off the internet. It can actually give you a local answer that you know about. So that's actually within the technology. The other thing is, when we train the machine learning for classification of emails, we actually want to take the emails from a specific company, because every company's vernacular and the way they refer to things is a little bit different. So it's literally an act of, okay, give us 10,000 of your emails. And if you put them in the CRM and you classify them, let's extract that report and we'll train machine learning on that. If someone manually replied, we'll classify the responses and train on that. So we can actually make it enterprise capable by taking the specifics about your company. And ChatGPT is capable. Machine learning, we want to, because even if it's, a sprinkler company, a pool company, it's your, a company makes roofs, it's someone who does travel reservations. Those type of questions are different. Customer service is very broad. It could be cell phone, it could be cellular, it could be water, it could be electric, it could be almost anything. So we do want to get training data from your enterprise, and then machine learning will answer in the context of your enterprise. So we can do that with examples that you have.
All right. I love it. Well, thanks, guys. And thanks for talking with me about AI answering emails. I think it's a good idea, and everybody should do it. All right.
Yeah.
Until next
Good
time.
talking to you. Thanks.